Seneca once said that if you do not know which port you are sailing to, then no wind is favorable. And throughout the years with the human race, I see no evidence of anyone knowing what port we are sailing to. To me, it seems like blind progress has been being made over the centuries. And it's never been so exponential as it has now. Therefore, this question never seemed so paramount. We were for so long in such a stage, in such a state where to to meet the basic needs was the goal, and no one would argue with this. And things were invented and things were made easier by certain these inventions, and no one was mad. No one was mad about their life being easier in the sense of, you know, not being hungry and not being as thirsty all the time and not having to work so hard to just survive. But in the day and age that we are in today, it just seems as if blind progress is being made in anywhere that can be progress without actually thinking about, is this beneficial to the human race or is this detrimental? And I don't think anyone asks, what is the point of life? What is the point of the human race? What is our goal? What are we striving for? And it's kind of a subjective metaphysical question, which you just can't sit down and, um, I guess, to a certain extent, rationally decide this is our, North Star. This is what each and every action should be aimed at. And if an action does not aim at this goal, then we can therefore consider it detrimental to the goal and not pursue it. So it is hard to, obviously, especially as 7 billion people come up with, yeah, this is the thing, but I will try to do so. And I will make the claim that it is to be happy. Everyone's goal is simply to be happy. And I think the blind progress that we are making in this day and age at this moment almost feels like it's in service to longer life for each individual and for the human race in a whole, becoming multi-planetary, what Elon's doing, and then, eventually getting to a different solar system because, I mean, if you think the Earth is going to not one day exist, well, then you got to realize one day the Milky Way won't exist. And if you really want the human race to exist, you got to make it out of the solar system as well, and so on and so forth, and universal expansion of the human race. But I think it's very, I think it's very beneficial to just think philosophical about this for a second and ask, what is better, a life lived well or a life lived long? And at what point do you say, it would just be better to live on Earth till Earth is gone than to get to such a point where, yeah, um, maybe we're multiplanetary, maybe we're in different solar systems, maybe we're in different universes, but how will society be? How will the happiness of the average person be? What will the workload? What will the daily life look like? Will we even look like humans? Will we even think like humans? Will we even Will we even recognize what we are trying to become? And is that really the goal that we should all be striving for? Now, this is obviously questions which cannot be answered, but I think it's a good thought experiment to think about, and to just think, if happiness is the real goal of life, what is it that we are doing? Because there are so many things that are, not in service to happiness. There's countless, I mean, you can't just lump things into one category and say this makes every single person unhappy who ever indulges in it. But there is things that make most people, I think, worse off. And I mean, I don't think it's a far stretch to say that social media is something that is detrimental to the human race. And the ultimate goal that I have stated is the human race's, which is happiness. And I know you were listening to this on the social media app, so I don't think it's completely bad in its entirety, as I said, but there is, I believe, certain forms, the short form social media, doom scrolling, posting for validation, seeking likes, seeking the approval of people whose approval, if you were sober minded, you would realize you don't even want. Because the things that they approve of, you so passionately disapprove of. It's funny how we seek approval from the people from which disapprove or approve of the things we disapprove of. Well, if they approve of us and they approve of things we disapprove of, what does their approving of us mean? But I think, yeah, social media is one that's just, what are we doing? Why? What is it for? Who is, and like I said, it's not horrible in and of itself, but I once had a conversation with some friends, and we were talking about what has caused people the most suffering ever. What has been the thing that has caused the most suffering? And I said social media. And I think with how many people are alive today, how many people are envious of things they see, people they see, how many people feel bad after a bout of doom scrolling, how many people regret how much time they spent on their phone in service to trivial pursuits that have bore no fruit. I think bore would be the right word. But yeah, I think social media could be the thing that has caused the most suffering. And one of my other buddies said that it was a clock. And I thought that was very, it was a very good answer. And it was an answer that was outside of the box. And I think is also right up there, but it's not in the realm. I guess it could be in the realm of what this discussion, Because, yeah, I mean, if the goal is true happiness, if the goal is to be happy and knowing the time causes suffering, I mean, I used to, I mean, I don't do it as much anymore, but I used to preach to myself not to worry about what time it was because it didn't matter. I mean, yes, obviously, you got to be certain places at certain times. You got to, do certain things at certain time. But I mean, so often, say you go to work and you have an 8-hour shift. Lunch is in 4 hours into your shift, and you know that you're no more than 1 hour into your shift. Why are you looking at the clock? What is it for? What are you gaining? What is the use of this? And also too, it's like, oh, we got to go to bed. Okay, well, the sun's still up, so you probably don't have to go to bed yet, unless it's unless it's June 22nd, the longest day of the year, and you got to get up at 4 a.m., then you're probably good. um, but yeah, just I was gonna say something that went along with that, but I forgot. But yeah, time I do think also causes some suffering that could be avoided if maybe. Oh yes, that's what I was gonna say. Back in the day, I read a book. It was actually in 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Berkman, right there, and very good book. Recommend it. Um, talked about how like I can't remember the exact age, but I think it was almost like the 1500s, where it was like people didn't have a sense of time. They knew approximately like what year it was. They maybe, they knew about like what day it was, but they didn't know what time of the day it was. I mean, it was sunrise, it was sunset, it was high noon, it's and and I can't remember the exact point made in the book, but I mean, it was just talking about how this is it made it made life seem, what was it? Not as stressful, maybe, just because the daunting of the time passing, just this, the the. I mean, we're so close. I mean, the time is literally a. We have watches, we have phones, multiple clocks. Every car. You see the time day in and day out. And I think the point in the book was just that there was something that used to be beautiful about just not worrying about what time it was. Just when things came, they came. You did them when you did them. They took as how long they took, and that was really all it was to it. It wasn't, oh, yesterday I did this in 3 hours. Today it took me 3.5 hours. I somehow wasted 30 minutes, and then you waste 30 minutes thinking about how you wasted 30 minutes, then you waste 30 minutes regretting how you wasted 30 minutes, thinking about how you wasted 30 minutes, and so on and so forth. And it's, yeah, ridiculous. But I guess that was a little rant on that. But yeah, I think social media, maybe even clocks, throw clocks in there. Is it really beneficial? Do we really need them? Maybe, maybe not. But this is kind of the point that I'm trying to make, is that I think we're advanced enough as a society to stop running with blindfolds on into the next door. Why don't we take the blindfolds off, do a 360 view, and decide where to go next? Even if we have to backtrack, you know, even if we have to go, because I think right now, honestly, we're going south. If in symbolic language, south is downwards, which is bad, we want to go north. I feel like we're going south. And if we got to go, maybe a little bit more south to go north, or maybe a little bit east or a little bit west in service to going north, I think that's a good thing. But I just don't see why. I don't see where, as I started the video off with, I think everyone knows how essential it is to have a goal for one's life, to set out a roadmap of what you want to accomplish, what you want to do, where you like things, milestones. What is the milestones of the human race? What is it that we are striving to do? What is it as a collective whole are we aiming at? And I stress the point that it's happiness, but it is not shown anywhere. Happiness is not of the utmost importance of any nation, of any person. They may say it is, they may truly deep down want it, but their actions say otherwise. Out of a ignorance of knowing what true happiness is, for everyone wants to be happy, so every action is in service to happiness. It so often eludes us, so that just shows that we don't know how to get it. But I was just it was actually funny. I was reading, St. Augustine's Confessions, and then this just popped into my head. I don't even remember what I was reading, but it just popped into my head, and I was like, what's the goal of the human race? Like, what are we doing? What is the point? It's better to live well than to live long. But from everywhere I see, our goal right now is to live longer and almost to live worse. And that's not to say that there isn't so many great, amazing, beautiful things that modern life has given us. Healthcare is amazing. Dental care is amazing. Plumbing is amazing. A roof over our head is amazing. Being able to be warm when we need to be warm, being cooled down when we need to be cooled down. These are good things. These are things I think should stick around. But I don't think everything I don't think everything needs to stick around. And then this is where you get into, because then you can go to the point, obviously, of, okay, how do you solve this problem? And I think it's a very slippery slope that I do not know how to traverse. So bear with me as I slip and fall. But it almost seems like true freedom is only acquired by taking away people's freedom. Because I think if you were able to stress test people's lives, if you were able to stress test and have someone be overweight their whole life, unhealthy, unfit, and then someone be fit and healthy, and they were able to live two lives in complete fullness and entirety. One, as I said, unhealthy, one, as I said, healthy. I think 10 out of 10 times, I truly believe 10 out of 10 times, they would choose the healthy life. But not everyone is healthy. So many people are overweight. So many people struggle with eating too much food, eating the wrong food. So it's hard because you want people to be free. And I mean, in the modern day and age, the sense of freedom is being able to make the choices that I want. But no one knows what they want, and no one understands they don't know what they want. They think they know what they want, but deep down, they clearly don't know what they want because they want to be happy, but they aren't happy. So how can you know what you want when you don't even get what you want? Even though you're getting everything that you want. And then these people fall into the trap of just saying, it's because I don't have that. Once I have that, clearly I'll be happy. Clearly, once I satisfy that want, then I will be happy. And then they get it and they said, oh, foolish of me. It was that want. And then, yeah, so on and so forth into eternity of unhappiness and despair at thinking the things you want are what you need, when the things you want are actually the things depriving you of what you need. Um, and yeah, that is it's a hard one because I'm basically saying that you need to take people's freedom away for them to be happy. Which, as I said, bear with me as I traverse and slip and fall because I don't know if that's right. Probably not, but I mean, religion has made people happy for centuries. Some of the happiest people are probably religious people, and they so often sacrifice what they want to do and in service to a practice that they feel as if they need to do, as if they are being made to do. There is something beautiful about doing something that you don't want to do in service to something higher. And there's something beautiful about getting what you need, not what you want. And if you're in any right frame of mind, then I think you can agree that what you need is what you want. But sometimes we just don't know that. And we think what we want is what we need when it isn't. So I don't know if the answer is to restrict people's freedom, take all the unhealthy food off the shelves and take away all the phones and, you know, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I didn't make this video with a answer in mind. It was more to pose a question, to, beg honestly to just stop and think, because not one person can stop the progression that we are on. It would need to be the human race as a whole coming together and saying, what is it that we want? Is it to have artificial intelligence? Is it to get to Mars? Is it to get to the next solar system? Is it to get to the next universe? Is it to, not blow up the world in the next 100 years? Or is it to be happy? Is it just to live as healthy as possible, as long as possible, being as happy as possible? Which, with whatever that means, whether that be through, pain and suffering, because pain and suffering have led to beautiful things. So just because the happy life, I don't think, is the life full of pleasure. So just because saying you want to be happy doesn't mean that I'm saying we turn life into candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and, you know, all that stuff, all that jazz. But to just really think, where are we going towards? What is the goal? Because I don't think the human race has ever picked a port. I don't think anyone in ever a position of supreme power. Maybe, but I mean, has anyone ever really picked a port other than for their own individual lives, goals for their own life? It's like the community as a whole has been wandering blindly and blindly down the road of progression, even at progression at detriment to happiness, to people's well being, to, I mean, the ultimate goal of life is happiness. So